Hello everyone, first news update for 3rd of May. Today is Saturday, so I hope you all have a wonderful day and a great weekend. Now it's about 9 o'clock in the morning Moscow time, and well, I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments that Russian media and public pay attention to, and I hope you will find this episode informative and useful. Although before I start, let me inform you, dear friends, that some changes potentially are coming to this project, which is that I'm now in active search for a day job, which means that at some point this month, and hopefully I will find a work this month in May, at some point I may no longer be able to publish regular updates on YouTube, although I will definitely try to maintain regular everyday activity on my Rumble channel, and I will still continue to publish extra content on Patreon and Boosty pages. So, just letting you know that soon on YouTube my updates may not be as regular as they are now on daily basis. So, well, it is what it is, and I reported many times that Russian economy is overheating. According to statistics, according to statements of high-ranking officials, Russian economy is experiencing shortage of workforce, and therefore I myself interested how long it will take before I will find a job. Probably it will be interesting to community also, and well, now it's May celebrations, isn't it? May holidays, Victory Day is coming, so therefore from now to 10th 11th of May hardly any company will reply to my application, but I'm quite confident before end of this month I'm gonna find some job. So let's see. I think this little journey might be interesting to our community, so I will update you on that if any changes. And of course, if somehow tomorrow a sponsor comes to this project, then that might change my calculus, obviously. But right now, I don't really have a choice but to, go find a day job, because first of all I have obligations before my family, isn't it? And I did try to invest time and resources into this project as far as as long as I could, but well, this is it. I can no longer do that. Anyways, dear friends, it is interesting, isn't it, how long it will take to me to find a job. Hopefully I will find a workplace that would not be too difficult in terms of time, and hopefully I wouldn't be so tired that after work so that after work I will have enough energy to come home and make updates for Rumble, and at least on weekends I will do updates for Patreon and Boosty, maybe even during the weekdays. Let's see how it will be. Anyways, if you are watching this video on YouTube, dear friends, maybe it will be a good idea, if you want to keep being in touch, maybe it will be a good idea to switch to my Rumble channel, to subscribe to my Rumble, because as I said, no matter what, I will continue to make at least evening news updates on Rumble, right? And therefore, just consider to join our Rumble community. A link is under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And in case you want to support this project and my work, all the other links, by the way, for that is also under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. Of course, it will be great if our community on Patreon or Boosty will grow, and if I had enough stable income through these projects, that I'll be focused solely on this project. But unfortunately it is not the case for now, and never was the case really. You know, I was spending money that I took, you know, from bank. I have a loan over million rubles, and that money is running out. So it is time to go for a regular job. Okay, anyways, dear friends, let's go through some news now, and I will start with this report from RIA Novosti that air defense systems on duty intercepted some 170 Ukrainian drones overnight, early hours of this morning. If I remember correctly, this could be largest combined strike, drone strike on Russia, drone missile strike on Russian Federation since the beginning of this year. Let's go through some details. So Russian air defense systems on duty destroyed and intercepted 170 Ukrainian drones, 8 Storm Shadow cruise missiles and 3 Neptune MD guided missiles last night at the Russian Defense Ministry reported during the during the past night from 2200 hours to 5 hours in the morning. Air defense systems on duty destroyed and intercepted 170 Ukrainian aircraft type unmanned aerial vehicles, statement of Defense Ministry said. It is noted that 96 drones were shot down over the territory of Republic of Crimea. This is second day in a row when the Kyiv regime is actively targeting Crimea with dozens and dozens of drones. 47 drones were destroyed over the territory of Krasnodar Krai. 9 drones were intercepted over the Rostov region, 8 drones over the Bryansk, and also 8 drones over the Kursk regions, and 2 drones over the Belgorod region. As I already highlighted, the air defense systems on duty over the Black Sea destroyed 8 Storm Shadow air-launched cruise missiles. This is British cruise missiles, and 3 Ukrainian Neptune MD guided missiles. And because these missiles were intercepted over the Black Sea, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if we will learn that planes that launched these missiles did take off from Romania, not from Kyiv controlled territory, but from Romania. So let's see what kind of additional information we will receive on this matter. It is quite a long time since we last time hear about Storm Shadow launches, isn't it? In addition, from 2 o'clock this morning to 5 o'clock, the Black Sea Fleet destroyed 14 Ukrainian unmanned boats in the Black Sea. So it was a combined strike on Russia. Aerial drones were used, maritime drones were used, and also cruise missiles and ballistic missiles were launched also. And unfortunately, at this point, there is already preliminary data about casualties among civilians due to these strikes, and RT is report about it. So let's go through this other report. Ukrainian drones struck apartment blocks and houses in Russia's southern Rostov and Krasnodar regions early Saturday, officials stated. Rostov governor Yuri Slusar reported that 2 adults and 2 children were evacuated after fragments from their intercepted drone caused a fire on the roof of the house in the village of Tselina. Non-residential building was also damaged, he added. Slusar noted that drones were intercepted over their several areas, including their mining towns of Novoshakhtinsk and Kamensk-Shakhtinsky. In Krasnodar region, officials said that drone fragments damaged 3 houses in Anapa, a result town on the Black Sea coast of Russia. Telegram channels, meanwhile, reported that drone attacks take place in the port cities of Novorossiysk and Taman near Crimea, with drone debris found scattered on the streets. Authorities in Novorossiysk stated that which is a home to Russian naval base, by the way, Novorossiysk city. said that military was reporting an attack by UAVs or drones, and seaborne drones. A drone crashed into one of the drones crashed into a high-rise apartment building in the city, one of the aerial drones. So Krasnodar governor Veniamin Kondratyev said 4 people, including 2 children, were injured in Novorossiysk, where drone strikes and damages 3 apartment blocks and sparks fire at the grain terminal. So as you can see, dear friends, there are casualties among civilians, and this is preliminary data. Probably we will have some update on that during the day, and I will post about it on my Twitter X page, Telegram channel. And today is Saturday. I'm not sure about second update, but if there will be, if it's necessary, then I will make second video news update also, and I will share additional information there too. Meanwhile, Kommersant newspaper and many other media outlets, by the way, are reporting that US refuses to act as a mediator in negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. This information was already known yesterday morning while I was recording first update, but here in Russia I see this report only on one media outlet, and I was kind of confused. Maybe I was thinking maybe it is some kind of mistake, because I don't think US is, first of all, US is not a mediator. US is a party of this conflict. US played a crucial role in this proxy war against Russia. And secondly, I don't think Washington at this point really is walking away from this crisis. Probably exactly opposite will happen. So therefore, I did not report about this news yesterday in the first update in the morning, because I was not sure if it's correct, but then other media outlets also reported about it. So I guess it's worth to pay attention to. So US State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce said that the US would no longer play the role of mediator in negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. She added that their time had come for direct talks. Yesterday I reported that J.D. Vance, Vice President of US, stated in his latest interview that task for US for the next 100 days is to arrange direct talks between Moscow and Kiev. And so which one is then? Is J.D. Vance correct that US will try to arrange direct talks between Moscow and Kiev in next 100 days, or statement of a representative of US State Department is correct that US will no longer attempt to masquerade itself as a mediator? I don't know. You tell me what is your take, dear friends, but I don't think US gonna walk away from this crisis. It's not that easy to do than said, because US has to resolve certain issues with the Russian Federation to make sure that Moscow on a state level will not seek revenge for all the damage that was done to Russia as a result of US direct involvement in this proxy war against Russia. Washington has no option really but to communicate with Moscow and not just acknowledge that collective West lost this proxy war against Russia, but US also has to agree on very serious concessions to Russia, so that at least on the state level, Moscow will not seek revenge. Although there will be always, by the way, now, because there are tens of thousands of Russian citizens were killed as a result of criminal actions of US and hostile actions of US against Russia, one should always keep in mind that there will be always groups, certain powerful, in many cases, groups in Russia that are not allied with the state, but nevertheless powerful groups that will always seek revenge on US. So by getting involved in this proxy war against Russia, US actually created many enemies, to say the least. Many enemies that will never stop and will always seek revenge. But at least if Washington will arrange some agreements with Moscow and agrees on concession, at least Moscow will not seek revenge on a state level. But seems like US is not at all interested in the escalation, because look at this report, for example, that Ukraine's for Ukraine's F-16 training and sustainment program, Pentagon is allocating some $310 million, and also there was reports that Trump himself allocated another $50 million for some weapons or munition supply for military aid for Kiev regime. So is this indicator that Pentagon wants or Washington wants to de-escalate with Moscow? I don't think so. Right? And I was saying since forever, like that unfortunately it is highly likely that before through the escalation we will see next phase or maybe next several phases of escalation in this proxy war that West is waging against Russia, and now we have clear indicators that most likely that is going to be the case, which is unfortunate, but yet again that was my reading of the big picture, and there seems like I was reading that picture correctly. And when it comes to US hostilities towards Russia, we have this report, for example, that Trump's administration or US leadership has prepared new sanctions against Russia. This information originally comes from Reuters. So United States has prepared the new sanctions against Russia, including in the banking and energy sector, Reuters reports, citing three American officials and source familiar with the matter of, and we have a quote here from Reuters report, officials have finalized the new economic sanctions against Russia, including measures in the banking and energy sectors to increase pressure on Moscow to support US President Donald Trump's efforts to end the war in Ukraine. However, it is unclear whether Trump will approve the package, the reporter said. Yes, I mean, many other powers or countries tried before to force Russia to do something by imposing some pressure, and all of them failed, historically speaking. And what US leadership is thinking? Are there psychos really, and that uneducated, that have no idea what Russia is and with whom they are messing around? But this information clearly indicates, by the way, that US was hostile during the Biden's administration against Russia, towards Russia, and the US still is hostile on the current administration of Trump, no matter what Trump himself is talking about. He might talk about the escalation every day, all day, but policies matters, right? That's what really matters. Talk is cheap, but actions are, different, right? Actions matter actually much more, and this is actions, by the way. US is allocating money. This is Trump's war now. No one can say that, Trump loves to say this is not his war, this is Biden's war. This is not correct, by the way. Now this is Trump's war, right? About 400 million, like 310 million for F-16s and another 50 million for some other weapons and munition. It's a Trump's war now. Nothing to be said about intelligence sharing. I mean, you think these Storm Shadow missiles that were launched with the active involvement of British specialists against Russia were launched how? Who provided guidance for those missiles? The US provided guidance, because UK don't have such capabilities on its own. Anyways, Vzгляд newspaper meanwhile is reporting that Miller may be Trump's national security advisor. So one of Donald Trump's most trusted advisor, Stephen Miller, is being considered for the post of US President's national security advisor. Miller is currently serving as deputy chief of staff and advisor on homeland security issues, and the White House source told Axios that he could be promoted to a national security advisor. So, okay, I have no idea who that Miller is, and neither I care, by the way, but position itself of national security advisor of US president is a high-ranking position, influential position, so therefore we just have to pay attention to it, otherwise I really don't care about none of the US officials, by the way, whatsoever. Telegram, meanwhile, I shared meanwhile on Telegram a statement of Marco Rubio that he made on a social network when he is criticizing Germany, basically. So Germany just give its spy agency new powers to surveil their opposition. That's not a democracy, it's a tyranny in disguise. What is truly extremist is not the popular AfD, which took second in the recent elections, but rather the establishment's deadly open border immigration policies that the AfD opposes. Germany should reverse course. Marco Rubio, head of US State Department, wrote in his statement, and well, seems like at least on some level relationships between Washington and Berlin is clearly deteriorating, and this just once again demonstrates that there are certain breaking inside the Western ruling class, isn't it? There are one part which is more focused on US, and they are supporting Trump's administration. They are behind the Trump's administration, and there are other part that we call globalists that are basically in charge, seems like are in charge of Europe. They have forces in US also, and there are all sorts of NGOs, and there are Soros and all that kind of garbage elements, and there are Democrats, establishment of Democrats are the assets of the globalists inside the US, but when it comes to Europe, well, the globalists clearly control Germany, France, UK from bigger economies, and there are a bunch of other smaller countries, and that's from where this division between or friction between US and Berlin, US and Germany is coming from, I guess. But well, it is interesting. We are not really used to see US criticizing its European allies. At least that was the case before the second term of Trump's administration. But now, more and more often, Washington and the US officials are, critical of some actions, some policies that globalist puppet regimes in Europe are deploying. And when it comes to this news itself, by the way, I reported about it yesterday during the live stream. We had a great live stream, by the way, great community chat yesterday on Rumble, and I reported about this news during that live stream that Germany's domestic intelligence agency has formally declared the right-wing Alternative for Germany, or AfD as it's known, political party to be an extremist group. While this new declaration does not mean that AfD will be banned immediately, at least, it will, however, legally permit the German authorities to intensify their surveillance on the party, including the use of undercover informants and the monitoring party's communication under German judicial oversight. Government calls to outright ban the party have also reignited as a result of this decision. So yes, that's what is happening, by the way. And I remind you that as far as I understand, AfD is the most popular party in Germany. Not the second most popular, as Rubio said, but most popular party in Germany. That's what I think, If you take in account that elites, they were manipulating with numbers, manipulating with the narratives and so on, I mean, clearly AfD must be most popular party, way ahead of every other. And look how they are treated. Just because it seems like globalists are not in full control of this party. Probably they have some assets inside, but because they are not in full control of this party, they have to crush it. Either they have to control it or they have to crush it. That's what is happening, by the way. Our team, meanwhile, is reporting that EU to tap frozen Russian funds again. This information originally also comes from Reuters. So Belgium-based clearinghouse Euroclear is set to redistribute around 3 billion euros or 3.4 billion US dollars of frozen Russian funds. Reuters reported on Friday the money will reportedly be used to compensate Western investors whose assets are stranded in Russia. And by the way, Russia just responded, isn't it? Russia just take some countermeasures on hostilities from the Western side. Russia did not initiate these hostilities, but did respond on hostile actions of the West, right? And Russia did not talk no frozen assets of the West. Those frozen assets are safe, and the day West will unfreeze Russian assets, Russia will do the same. But seems like, by the way, soon there will be nothing to unfreeze in the West because they are stealing these assets. They are stealing these frozen Russian assets. You know, and just recently one of the officials in Europe stated that if sanctions would not be prolonged on Russia, and the EU will have no option but to unfreeze Russian assets and return it to its owner, Russia, EU taxpayers will have to bear the burden because why? Because some experts are suggesting that EU is already stealing not just profits from Russian assets, but Russian assets, these assets themselves too. That's what it is, man. I mean, you tell me level of degradation of culture, political class, political culture, and the level of humanity among Western so-called elites that they are openly stealing stuff that belongs to others, and they don't really care about it. They don't really think that they are doing something wrong because they are just degenerates, by the way, total degenerates, right? Human scum, that's what Western elites are at this point. I mean, human scum, that's all. Anyways, EU will steal Russian assets, okay? There are about 200 billion or more Western assets in Russia, and Moscow has every right to retaliate, obviously. RIA Novosti, meanwhile, is reporting that, yesterday, Freedom Flotilla vessel carrying aid to Gaza was attacked by drone, and there was casualties on the vessel, and according to reports, personnel, a crew of the vessel was evacuated, but vessel itself caught fire. Ship in the Freedom Flotilla carrying humanitarian aid for Gaza Strip sent out a distress signal off the coast of Malta after a drone attack, CNN reported, and many other media outlets, obviously, citing Flotilla's press attaché Yasemin Assar. At the present, we have quote here, at the present, the ship has a hole in it and is sinking, and source signal has been sent to nearby countries, including Malta. Right now, our ship is 17 kilometers from the shores of Malta. They have been attacked by drones twice, the DTV channel's source reported. And there was reports also on other sources yesterday that Israeli drones were hovering over this vessel, and maybe they carry out additional strikes. Israel officially did not confirm, at least for now, that they were behind this attack, but well, that's what, as far as I understand, that's what everybody thinks, that this was Israel. And it is a war crime, by the way, undoubtedly, to attack a civilian vessel that carries humanitarian aid for people in need. I mean, that is a war crime and crime against humanity. And when it comes to Israeli strikes, well, this morning, during the nighttime and early this morning, reports are coming in that Israel has launched a massive wave of bombing across Syria, targeting Damascus and its countryside, there are Hamal, Latakia, Idlib, and other areas. Videos are circulating of massive explosions. And so, well, situation is clearly escalating between Israeli leadership and Damascus, and there also, we can say, between Israeli leadership and Turkey, because this regime in Damascus is a Turkish proxy. So therefore, Israeli actions are bringing closer and closer potential direct clashes between Israel and Turkey. Not just between Israel and Turkish proxies, they already are fighting each other, but between Israel and Turkey. And Turkey, by the way, unlike other countries in the Middle East, Turkey actually has capable armed forces. Unlike Egypt, unlike Saudi Arabia or UAE, Turkey and Iran, by the way, these are two countries that actually have battle-capable armies. And I don't know what is happening in the brains of Netanyahu, but he is creating enemy right now before our eyes. He's creating an enemy for Israel that country cannot defeat. Even with use of nuclear weapons, Israel cannot defeat Turkey, by the way. So it's, I mean, Netanyahu seems like are on some suicidal mission there for Israel. I don't know, man. You tell me what is your take, but I don't think Israel is ready to really fight Turkey. Meanwhile, also I reported on my Telegram and Twitter X pages that Iran condemns US as not serious about nuclear talks after Trump's announced new sanctions during negotiations, still committed to a path of diplomacy, but not under threats and pressure, still a chance for a nuclear deal, or and this information is coming from Iran. And you tell me, dear friends, is there still chance for nuclear deal, or will it be a war? Right in middle of negotiations, and fourth round of negotiations should take place, was planned at least, and exactly in middle of that, Trump come up with that tweet or post on his Truth Social page with the threats towards Iran and towards every other country that cooperates with Iran. I mean, is this normal? Of course it is not, right? And Iran is in a difficult situation now. I mean, how are you going to negotiate with someone that is threatening you and actually imposing additional sanctions and are extremely hostile towards you, and not demonstrates none of their no attempts to really de-escalate? So unfortunately, answer to this question is quite a negative one. Probably situation is moving towards the war, and it's going to be devastating for Middle East. It's going to be devastating for the entire world, and it's going to be devastating for US itself, for Israel and US. And US is clearly acting on behalf of Netanyahu's regime. I mean, there can be no doubts about it. Israel owns US foreign policy. We all know this, right? Israel owns US foreign policy, and US does whatever Israel wants from US. It's a decades-long policy, and hardly anything will change in this regard anytime soon, at least. The Novosti is also reporting that Trump asks to increase defense budget. Remember, dear friends, even before inauguration of Trump, based on his statements of his team, I was saying that I'm skeptical that new administration will manage to deal with overspending of the federal government, because in my personal opinion, it was absolutely inevitable that Pentagon's budget will reach $1 trillion, and I was saying it in videos, right? And that's exactly what is happening, by the way. That's exactly what is happening. US President Donald Trump has proposed increasing the country's defense spending by 13% to $1.01 trillion. US dollars in 2026 fiscal year. So 13% jump, over trillion now will be allocated to make happier US military industrial complex. And while this is happening, by the way, you tell me how serious it is to still trust any statements from DOGE or from White House or from whenever that they're gonna deal with the immense deficit that US has, budget deficit, and national debt. They're not gonna deal with nothing, by the way. And mark my word, every single year that Trump is in office, US debt will increase. Just mark my word. Every single year that Trump is in office, US debt will increase. How else it can be, by the way, when just to make military industrial happier, they are spending more than a trillion of their taxpayers' money, US taxpayers' money. And if you add to this funds for black ops that are not registered nowhere, right? If you add funds for several dozen so-called intelligence institutions that US has, then this sum will add up to 1.3, 1.5 trillion. And is it US in a position to spend this much money just to make happier military industrial complex and businesses that affiliated with that complex or subsidiaries of that complex? No, US is in no position to spend this crazy, but that's what they're gonna do. And this is also a decades-long tradition, by the way, isn't it? This is not something new. And I wonder why would anybody in US really believe that Trump gonna deal with, or his administration gonna deal with national debt and this crazy federal spendings. They're not gonna do nothing. And also, when it comes to Trump, by the way, I don't know what kind of mushrooms he ate, but yesterday, I don't know what happened to him, but that's the photo that he published, by the way, on his True social page. He is dressed up as a pope. He's not even Catholic, as far as I know, right? What kind of joke is that? I don't get it. What is your take, dear friends? I mean, something is clearly going on in Trump's head, by the way. Something that disturbing, because if Trump continues this way, soon everybody gonna talk about his mental state, because this is just not freaking normal. I mean, you called at least president of US, for God's sake, act like one, right? And I will end this update on this news, dear friends, that according to reports, number of cargo shipments to US, huge number of cargo ships to US are cancelled. So cargo shipments from all over the world to the United States are facing disruptions and are being cancelled due to American duties. Renate Wijmenger, press secretary of the Dutch Business Association for Trade and Logistics, Eurofinedex, told RIA Novosti. We have quote here: "We are currently seeing 80 container ships worldwide that have either changed or canceled their routes. This represents 20% of the total number of the cargo vessels. By comparison, as the height of the COVID-19 crisis, this number was 50. The impact on global shipping and the trade is already significant, and we do not rule out a further disruption in the coming weeks," she quoted the association's political advisor, Kasper Roreid, as saying, and well, this is big, by the way, isn't it? This is big. If now disruption of shipping and supply chain is already bigger than it was during the pandemic, then well, I guess it's only a matter of couple of weeks, couple of months, and in some countries People might even see shortages of certain goods, maybe even in developed countries, because these trade issues, first of all, probably will affect big economies, and US is of course a consumer of goods from all over the world. I mean, biggest one, right? That's why US trade deficit is so bad, that US consumes everything from all over the world, right? So this is something to pay attention to, I think, because disruption of supply chain is always bad news, always. Right, and I'm gonna end this update on this news, dear friends. Relatively long update, but hopefully you will find it informative and interesting and useful. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary. No matter on which platform you are watching this video, on Rumble or YouTube. If you can, share video with your friends, or share the word about existence of my channel. That might help actually to reach a wider audience, to reach people that might have interest to hear Russian perspective, news from Russia. And finally, as I already mentioned, if you like my work, if you like this project, if you think I bring something of something good into a conversation, something interesting, then please consider to support this project and my work. All the links are on this video description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Once again, have a wonderful day, great weekend, and take care.